Let's begin not with what you want, but with what you inherited. Not in legal terms, not in a will, but in the quiet, unseen way that beliefs pass from one set of hands to another, long before you even realize you're carrying them. Somewhere in the drawer of your childhood, there was a coin, not necessarily valuable, not gold, not ancient, but present. It may have sat in the bottom of your father's desk, next to receipts, rubber bands, and a fading photograph he rarely looked at, but never threw away. Or maybe it jingled at the bottom of your mother's purse, among loose change and lipstick, the same coin she gave to the incense lady on the first day of the Lunar New Year, while muttering a wish she never spoke aloud. Or maybe it lived near your family altar. You never asked why, but every so often someone would clean the space, replace the fruits, light the candle, and add just one coin, quietly, deliberately. That coin wasn't currency, it was memory, a placeholder for intention, a symbol of effort, a mirror for fear. It was placed not just in a bowl or a drawer, but in your mind. And from that moment on, whether you knew it or not, your relationship with money was no longer about math. It was about energy. You grew up thinking fortune was something you worked for, that it arrived by force, by logic, by strategy. But what if it also arrives by invitation, by readiness, by space? In Feng Shui, we don't just study furniture or color, we study stories. We study how space reflects belief, how the unseen shapes the seen. And one of the oldest, simplest, most quietly potent symbols in this practice is a coin. But not a coin you throw, not a coin you spend, a coin you place, with awareness, with pause, with the same respect you'd give to a blessing. This isn't about superstition. I won't ask you to chant. I won't ask you to rearrange your home until it looks like a catalog. I'll ask something gentler, to reflect, to notice, to wonder what story money is already telling in your home, and whether it's one you chose. In this video, we'll explore the energetic role of coins in the home, not as magic objects, but as reflections of attention, movement, and memory. We'll walk through where coins belong, what they symbolize, and how small, symbolic acts can change not just your space, but your stance. Because often, fortune doesn't flow where effort is loud. It flows where readiness is quiet. And if reflections like this resonate with you, even just a little, I gently invite you to support this journey. A like, a comment, or a subscription helps this channel, New Day Mindfulness, continue to grow, not through performance, but through presence. We're slowly moving toward 1,000 subscribers, not because we need the number, but because we believe thoughtful content deserves a quiet home to live in. And so before we begin, I'll leave you with this. The coin you carry may not be the one you chose, but today, you can choose where it goes. Shall we begin? 1. Metal, intention, and shape. There is something quietly dignified about a coin, not just in its weight or worth, but in its intention. Unlike paper, coins are formed, cast into shape with fire, pressure, and design. They endure. They do not flutter. They do not tear. In Feng Shui, this is no small detail. A coin belongs to the metal element, not only because of its material composition, but because of the qualities it carries: structure, memory, precision, and restraint. Where wood grows and fire burns, metal reflects. It cools. It defines boundaries. It remembers. And in spaces that have become too emotional, too erratic, or too soft, metal restores clarity. It gathers scattered energy into form. A traditional coin, particularly those of Eastern origin, carries a distinct geometry, one that is rarely accidental. The outer ring is round, symbolizing the heavens, expansive, cyclical, eternal. The inner hole is square, symbolizing the earth, grounded, bounded, measurable. When you hold such a coin, you are not holding a token of wealth. You are holding a map of relationship, the conversation between what is above and what is below, between what you aspire to and what you stand upon, between the breath of spirit and the weight of body. It is this tension, this balance that gives the coin its power. We often forget that money itself is not real. It is a symbol, a stand-in for energy, for time, for trust. A bill or a coin only holds power because we agree that it does. But unlike modern currency, which is abstracted, digitalized, and fleeting, the coin remains a tangible reminder of continuity. It clinks, it accumulates, it rusts when forgotten, it shines when remembered. And in Feng Shui, the way a coin is treated in the home reflects more than financial habits. It reflects the household's relationship to permanence and purpose. Consider this. Where do coins live in your home right now? Are they scattered in junk drawers, tossed onto counters, forgotten in old bags or under couch cushions? Or are they gathered with awareness, perhaps in a small bowl, or resting atop a symbolic cloth positioned intentionally near an entryway or altar? These choices may seem insignificant, but space listens to intention, and objects absorb the stories we tell them. In Feng Shui, placing coins in the right place does not summon fortune. It signals respect. It says, this household pays attention. This household knows what it is holding. And more importantly, this household is ready to hold more. Metal energy, when aligned, brings discernment. It teaches us to value quality over quantity, to prune excesses, to refine. Coins, by their very nature, do not bloat. They add up with patience, they stack. And in this way, they teach us that fortune is not a lottery ticket. It is a structure, something we build, something we shape. There's a quiet beauty in how coins pass through hands over time. A child places one in a wishing well. A traveler gives one in gratitude. A vendor counts them in the early light of day. A grandmother tucks one into a red envelope for luck. And in each gesture, the coin becomes more than metal. It becomes a vessel of meaning, a participant in ritual, a witness to effort. To bring coins into a home with Feng Shui consciousness is to remember that wealth is not random. It is relational. It reflects the state of your structure, the order of your environment, the clarity of your decisions. When coins are neglected, metal turns cold. When they are respected, metal becomes gold. And perhaps that is the deeper truth. Prosperity is not about what you possess. It's about what you preserve. 2. Coins as anchors in modern life. It's easy to dismiss a coin in today's world. We tap cards. We transfer balance with our phones. We no longer count change. We round it off, swipe it away. Coins, to many, feel like an afterthought, a residue of an older system. But in spaces that listen and in homes that breathe with rhythm, coins are not clutter. They are anchors. There's a fundamental difference between superstition and attention. Superstition hopes. It reaches outward. It says, maybe if I place this here, something lucky will happen. Attention, by contrast, turns inward. It doesn't ask the coin to perform magic. It asks the self to remember, to return to stillness, to notice what matters. In classical Feng Shui, coins are not seen as lucky charms to chase outcomes. They are reminders. They are material whispers, gently saying, focus is wealth. And it is this shift from expectation to anchoring that gives coins a place in modern homes, not as talismans of old, but as tools of present moment clarity. Imagine this, a small shop owner in the outskirts of Chiang Mai. Her business wasn't failing, but it wasn't thriving either. She sold woven cloths, handmade with care, passed down from generations. Tourists used to come, locals used to visit, but in the digital tide of convenience and algorithms, foot traffic waned. Hope became a quiet hum in the background, still there, but distant. One day, while cleaning the counter for the 5th time that morning, she noticed a single coin on the floor. It was old, slightly tarnished. Maybe it had dropped from her till, maybe from a customer's pocket. But instead of discarding it, she did something else. She placed it, just so, under the base of her cash register. Not because someone told her it would bring luck, not because a book said it must face east or sit atop red velvet, but because in that moment she needed something to ground her, something small, something real, something that said, this is still mine. This moment, this work, it still matters. And she began to notice, not in a dramatic way, not with windfalls or miracles, but she noticed her energy shifting, her posture changed. She began to greet customers with a kind of steadiness again, not with desperation, but with presence. She retagged items, rearranged shelves, relit the incense earlier in the day. And slowly the store didn't just look more inviting, it felt more anchored. She did not summon abundance. She aligned herself to it. The coin did not make her rich, but it made her ready. This is the nature of objects in Feng Shui when approached without superstition. They do not operate like vending machines. You don't place them and wait for results. You place them and allow them to mirror back your own intention. A coin beneath a lamp, a coin at the corner of a desk, a coin resting at the mouth of a piggy bank, or nestled into the drawer where invoices are sorted. None of these gestures call out for magic, but each one says, "This energy matters. I am aware. I am not drifting." In the same way a wedding ring doesn't cause love, but symbolizes it, or how a handwritten note doesn't guarantee gratitude, but holds the presence of it, so too does a coin, when placed with care, carry attention. It holds it for us when we forget. And most days we do forget. We forget our goals when the news cycle screams. We forget our pace when deadlines loom. We forget our rhythm when comparison clouds our breath. A coin, small, unmoving, and quiet, says return, turn. There's something deeply modern about this practice. In a time of overstimulation, high-speed alerts, and scrolling decisions, having something that does not move becomes revolutionary. A coin by design stays where it is placed. It doesn't buzz, it doesn't blink, it doesn't demand. And that stillness is not empty, it's instructive. It becomes a fixed point by which we recalibrate our movement. Let's be honest, few people need coins for payment anymore. But maybe that's precisely why they matter again. Not as currency, but as orientation. In Feng Shui, metal grounds intention. It cuts through fog. It refines excess. And when placed with respect in spaces of decision, workspaces, entryways, financial drawers, even personal journals, it becomes a kind of punctuation. It closes a sentence. It centers a thought. Think of the artist's studio. Think of the desk where bills are paid. Think of the nightstand where tomorrow's intentions are scribbled. What would it mean to place a coin there, not to manipulate fate, but to mark presence, to say, I'm not asking the world to deliver, I'm showing the world I'm prepared. Even on a spiritual level, a coin's geometry supports this message. Circular forms surrounding a grounded center. Infinity held by direction. The outer roundness reflects timelessness. The inward square reflects stability. We live in a world that often chases the outer loop. Growth, success, expansion. But the inner square, that's the part we forget to nourish. The three powerful placement zones. There are places in a home that speak louder than others, not because they are more beautiful, not because they are more expensive, but because they are thresholds, spaces where the energy of your day begins, deepens, or decides which direction it will flow. And when we place something as ancient and symbolic as a coin into these zones, not for superstition, but for orientation, we begin to teach our environment how to hold us better. The coin becomes not a tool of luck, but a whisper of alignment. And when chosen thoughtfully, placed mindfully, and acknowledged with consistency, it can subtly rewire how space responds to us and how we respond to space. Let us begin with the threshold, the doorway. It is energetically and psychologically the place where external becomes internal. Every time we cross it, something changes. Shoes come off, breath deepens, the armor of the day loosens. And yet, so many treat it mechanically. The door swings, the lock turns, that's it. But in classical Feng Shui, the doorway is more than an entrance. It is the mouth of Qi, the channel through which energy arrives and from which it also departs. In this place, chaos can be carried in, or it can be gently filtered out, which is why one of the most enduring practices is the placement of coins beneath the welcome mat. Now, this is not to invite wealth in as if it were a guest who can be bribed. The coins are not bait, they are markers, quiet acknowledgments that this home is not random, that what crosses into this space is received with readiness, not reactivity. When 3 coins are tied with a red string and laid beneath the mat, facing upward, we are not calling in fortune, we are anchoring our awareness. We are saying, From here on in, there is coherence. There is clarity. The red thread binds not just metal, but meaning. Red, in the five-element system, corresponds to fire, the spark of intention. And when fire wraps around metal, it activates it, not to shine louder, but to resonate deeper. Some households place these coins under every mat, front door, back entrance, balcony exit. Others choose just one. It is not the quantity, but the clarity that counts. What matters most is the ritual behind the placement. Clean the mat, clean the threshold, breathe into the act. Say, perhaps silently, what enters here serves our growth. What stays here supports our peace. Next, we move into the interior of the home, to the safe, the drawer, or the quiet cupboard where valuables are kept. This is the zone of storage, of holding, of sustained wealth, not the flash of gain, but the depth of continuation. In Feng Shui, this space is often left unattended because it is hidden, but hidden does not mean irrelevant. In fact, the places we rarely touch often shape us more than we realize. When we place a coin here, just one, perhaps with a note of gratitude, handwritten, folded with care, we are not trying to manipulate fate. We are learning to affirm trust, that what is here will grow, that what is not yet here is still possible, and that how we store says something about how we receive. Gratitude, written plainly, thank you for what you have given. I welcome what's to come, is not a prayer. It is a calibration, a reminder that wealth is not born from clutching, but from confidence. And confidence, when housed in silence, becomes powerful. Consider the story of a retired banker in Singapore. After a long career managing others' fortunes, she struggled with her own sense of abundance. She had savings, yes, but something in her always felt afraid that it would disappear, that she hadn't done enough. One day, after reading about symbolic anchoring, she placed a single coin from her childhood, an old brass one her father had once given her, into the back corner of her safe, with a folded note that simply said, "I still know how to hold." That week, nothing grand happened, but she noticed a shift. She no longer opened the safe obsessively. Her anxiety quieted, her spending became less reactive. The coin didn't change her net worth, it changed her energetic worth. And that made all the difference. And now finally to the desk, the altar of output, the place where modern ambition meets timeless design. Whether you work from home or simply have a corner where you journal, budget, or brainstorm, the desk is more than functional. It is directional. It sets the tone not just for what gets done, but for how it gets done. And this is where placement becomes both subtle and strategic. In Feng Shui, there exists the concept of the green dragon side of the desk. When sitting, it is to your left, a side associated with growth, movement, and benevolent masculine energy. It is not dominant, but directive. It guides with assertiveness, not aggression. Placing a coin here, perhaps in a small dish, or beneath a plant, or even under the mouse pad, tells your output. This action is anchored. This work is aligned. Do not be surprised if clarity follows. Not all at once, but gradually. You may find decisions come easier, that distractions settle, that even in chaos, something about your work begins to feel more trustworthy. And it's not the coin itself, it's the commitment it mirrors. When we place something small in the right place with the right mind, we are not creating change. We are inviting it, gently, consistently. The difference between chaos and calm is often one point of stillness. A coin placed on the left does not shout. It does not instruct. It simply stays. And in its stillness, it teaches. Let us remember, coins are not magical. They are metallic metaphors. They are tools. And tools, when used with intention, become rituals. And rituals, when repeated with presence, become transformation. So ask yourself, what thresholds in your life could use a marker of readiness? What storage spaces might benefit from gratitude instead of fear? What output zones would feel steadier if grounded in quiet confidence? And more deeply, what are you willing to hold, not because you're demanding more, but because you've finally made space for what's already on its way? Let your coins become not superstition, but signal. Let them speak not of luck, but of alignment. And let your home, not just as architecture, but as atmosphere, become a space where the energy of movement, memory, and mindfulness can live in balance. Or core, two additional sacred spaces. Not all sacred spaces are built with altars or walls. Some emerge from quiet decisions, small acts of attention that recalibrate how a home breathes or how a person carries their relationship to value, momentum, and worth. In Feng Shui, the direction of energy matters as much as its content. Not because a compass dictates your destiny, but because orientation shapes how you hold space and how space holds you in return. And there are two areas often overlooked in this dialogue between physical form and energetic function: the southeast corner of your home and the object you carry every day without thought, your wallet. Let us begin with the southeast corner. In classical Feng Shui, this sector of the home aligns with the wood element. It is the zone of cultivated wealth, not sudden windfalls. It speaks not of risk, but of rhythm, not of accumulation, but of growth. When we speak of abundance from a wood perspective, we are not describing gold bars or glittering jackpots. We are describing the slow upward spiral of nourishment, a life that feeds itself, sustains itself, and supports others as it matures. This is not the wealth of Wall Street. It is the wealth of trees. To work with this space, you do not need expensive upgrades or elaborate construction. You need coherence. Begin by identifying where the southeast corner of your home falls. Sometimes it may be part of the living room, other times a quiet hallway. Occasionally it is a corner you rarely enter, and that's precisely the point. The neglected zones of our homes often mirror the neglected zones of our mindset. If the southeast is dark, cluttered, or stagnant, chances are your financial clarity is too. Not in numbers necessarily, but in energy, in flow. To restore this space, one of the simplest practices is pairing a coin, a physical symbol of circulation, with a living plant. But not just any plant. Choose one that aligns with the symbolism of sustained growth. A money tree, a small cluster of lucky bamboo, or a quietly thriving pothos. The plant carries life. The coin carries intention. Together, they create a dialogue. You are not saying, "Give me more." You are saying, "I'm ready to tend what already lives here." Placement matters. Let the coin rest at the base of the plant, not buried, not hidden. Tuck it under the top layer of soil, just enough to remind you it is there. Occasionally uncover it. Clean it with a soft cloth. Acknowledge it. This is not a magic act. It is a ritual of respect. When we pair living breath plant with inherited symbol, coin, we create an altar, not of worship, but of attention. And attention, in energetic terms, is currency. Some choose to place a small note near this pairing, a word, a phrase, something like steady rise or rooted flow. Others may choose silence. That is fine. What matters is the rhythm. Water the plant when it asks. Wipe the surface when dust gathers. Let the coin become a quiet companion, not to wish upon, but to align with, because the southeast is not a place of sudden transformation. It is a place of earned steadiness, and coins here do not shout, they hum. Now we move from the anchored to the mobile, from a fixed direction in your home to the sacred object that travels with you daily, your wallet. This is not just a container for money. It is a mirror of how you treat value, how you store it, spend it, invite it, or unconsciously push it away. And for most people, the wallet is treated either casually or chaotically. Receipts shoved in, expired cards forgotten, stray lint gathering near the cash. And then we wonder why money doesn't feel good in our lives, why it resists arriving, or why it escapes too quickly when it does. In Feng Shui, your wallet is not merely a financial tool, it is an energetic altar. It deserves respect, not as a luxury item, but as a functional, symbolic extension of your field. When you hold it, when you open it, when you place it on a counter, it sends a message. And that message can be one of readiness or one of residue. Begin by choosing one clean section of your wallet, preferably a zippered coin pouch or a flat pocket unused for daily cards. Into this space, place one coin. It can be from your current currency, or it can be a coin from a country you wish to visit, a time you wish to remember. A moment that reminds you value does not disappear, it simply changes form. You may tie a red thread around it if you wish, not for superstition, but for focus. Red in Feng Shui is not a color of danger, but of intention. When you wrap your coin, you are not locking it. You are illuminating it. Make sure the coin does not touch old receipts or notes of debt. Give it space. Let it be held, not buried. And from time to time, touch it, not to wish, but to remember, to align, to say, I carry value, not because I chase it, but because I respect it. And that act alone begins to change your frequency. There is a story, often repeated in different forms, about a well-known jewelry designer in New York who went through a long, dry spell in commissions. She had connections, talent, reputation, but something wasn't landing. She felt, in her words, like the money was afraid to stay. During a conversation with a friend who practiced environmental alignment, she was challenged to clear her wallet, not just declutter, but reconsecrate it. She removed everything non-essential, chose a small gold coin she had received from her grandmother, wrapped it in silk, slid it into a quiet fold, and didn't tell anyone. Within a month, the projects began arriving again, not because the coin had power, but because her space began to signal congruence. Her energy no longer whispered fear. It mirrored coherence. An energy, like people, responds best to what feels trustworthy. It is not about ritual for ritual's sake. It is about coherence. A wallet that is cleaned weekly, a coin that is placed with clarity, a southeast corner that breathes with quiet green life. These are not superstitions. They are structures. And structures, in metaphysics as in architecture, determine what can be held. Ask yourself, where is your value being stored, and how does it feel to open that space? What lives at the entrance of your home, in the corner of prosperity, or in your palm as you check out at a store? Are these places reflective of readiness, or do they whisper neglect? You don't need 10 coins, you need one, with presence. You don't need perfect decor. You need plants that are alive and maintained. You don't need a new wallet. You need to treat the one you have as a container of meaning, because energy doesn't require grandeur, it requires honesty. And coins, when held with care, when placed in the right pockets of space and spirit, become more than metal. They become mirrors of trust, of gratitude, of gentle preparedness for what is coming. Let the southeast corner remind you, wealth when rooted grows with grace. Let your wallet remind you, value is not only what you hold, it's how you hold it. And let every coin placed in sacred space become not a tool of wishing, but a thread of remembering. You were never lacking. You were simply misaligned. And now, with a coin in your corner and a whisper in your hand, you return to your rhythm, quiet, unshaken, ready. 5. Car as energetic extension. Most people treat their cars as machines, functional vessels designed to move us from one location to the next. We pay attention to the oil, the tires, the dashboard lights. We notice when it fails, when it stalls, when it refuses to start. But very rarely do we consider that the car, like the home or the wallet or the bed, is a container of energy. And more than that, it is a directional field. It is not just where you sit, it is where your momentum lives. In Feng Shui, every object in your life that holds you, carries you, or surrounds you becomes a symbolic extension of your energy. And among these objects, the car holds a very particular place because it is in motion. It is directional by nature. And anything that moves while carrying your physical body is also helping to project your energetic field outward. Every time you step into your car, you are not just commuting, you are aligning with or resisting your next movement in life. It doesn't matter if your car is new or old, luxurious or simple. What matters is how it is treated, what it holds, and how it listens. Yes, listens, because energy listens, even if you do not speak. And your car hears far more than you think. It hears your stress during traffic. It hears your racing thoughts between appointments. It hears the way you grip the wheel when you're overwhelmed. And in return, it reflects that tone back to you. Have you ever noticed how some people's cars feel frantic the moment you sit in them? Or how others feel quiet, grounded, even if they're small or modest? That's not an accident. That's residue. That's what the space is holding. To work with your car energetically, the first step is not to cleanse or decorate. The first step is to shift the way you view it. Reframe your car not as a tool, but as a mobile temple, a sanctuary of movement, a breathing space that holds you while you travel from where you are to where you are becoming. And once you do that, once you honor it as a vessel of movement, clarity, and direction, you begin to understand why energetic anchoring matters. One of the simplest, most quietly powerful practices in this regard is the placement of a single coin beneath the driver's seat, not taped, not glued, not wrapped in ritual, simply placed as a companion, as a compass, as a whisper. Why a coin? Because a coin represents more than money. As we've explored in previous reflections, a coin is round on the outside and square in the center. This is the classical symbol of heaven surrounding earth. It is the meeting point between expansion and foundation, between vision and reality. And when placed in a space that moves, like your car, that coin becomes an anchor, a way of saying, I am not rushing, I am not drifting, I am guiding. Place it mindfully. Slide the driver's seat back and clean the floor beneath it. Wipe it down, not because it must be sterile, but because it must be noticed. Energy responds not to perfection, but to presence. Choose a coin that means something to you. Perhaps it is from a trip you took that changed you. Perhaps it is one you found on a day you felt grounded. Or maybe it's just one that feels right in your hand. There is no wrong choice, only unconscious ones. Once placed, the coin does not need your constant attention, but it does benefit from your intention. A few times a week, when you sit down to drive, pause, breathe, place your hand lightly over the seat, even if you do not touch the coin directly, and remind yourself, not with words, but with tone. I move with direction. I steer with clarity. This isn't about mystical protection. It isn't about warding off accidents or guaranteeing smooth rides. This is about inner alignment, about ensuring that as you move physically through the world, you are not scattering your energy behind you, that your car does not become the place where you leak your frustration, your impatience, or your exhaustion. It becomes the place where you hold your presence, even in motion. Some might ask, why the driver's seat specifically? Because that is where choice lives. The steering wheel, the pedals, the mirrors, all are extensions of how you navigate. And the floor beneath the seat is not symbolic debris, it is symbolic grounding. It is the energetic soil beneath your forward movement. And when you place a coin there, you are not placing hope. You are placing responsibility. You are saying, I understand that where I go is a reflection of what I am carrying, and I choose to carry awareness. There is a story, quiet, mostly forgotten, about a writer in Northern California who kept losing his way. Not on the road, but in life. His schedule was erratic, his confidence unstable. He found himself circling, literally and metaphorically repeating the same routes each day, yet feeling more lost with every loop. A friend suggested he treat his car not as a trap, but as a teacher. They didn't give him a chant or a talisman. They gave him a coin, and they said, put this beneath your seat. Every time you sit, remember, you are not a passenger in your life. He did. He didn't believe it at first. It felt strange, even silly. But a week later, he noticed his posture change. He sat straighter. He breathed deeper before backing out of the driveway. And slowly, his driving softened. His frustration at red lights lessened. His routes became simpler, not because the roads changed, but because he did. The coin didn't steer the car. It steadied the man. Energy doesn't need us to believe in it, but it responds to how we treat it. Your car, like your bed or your kitchen or your desk, holds memory. If you scream in it, it holds tension. If you cry in it, it holds a sorrow. But if you honor it, even a little, it begins to hold coherence. Some people choose to add more. A small piece of cloth tied to the gear shift, a sprig of rosemary in the glove box, a soft essential oil diffused lightly through the air vents. All of these can help, but none of them matter without the inner shift. Without the moment when you say, this space moves because I move. This space listens because I listen. Treat your car like a space that matters. Clean it regularly, not out of pride, but out of respect. Don't let it become the graveyard of to-go coffee cups and forgotten receipts. Don't let it carry arguments from 3 days ago or worries about tomorrow's meeting. Let it be a space of release, of breath, of return, and let the coin beneath your seat be your tether, not to wealth, but to intention. Because prosperity doesn't always arrive in checks or bank alerts. Sometimes it arrives in the way you turn your wheel, the way you slow down before a corner, the way you pause at a yellow light, not with panic, but with poise. Your car is not a cage, it is a carriage. And when you treat it as such, it begins to carry more than your body. It begins to carry your clarity. So the next time you drive, ask yourself, not where are you going, but how? How are you holding this motion? How are you showing up to this vehicle, this direction, this moment? And when you hear the faint hum of tires on asphalt, the quiet click of your blinker, or the steady rhythm of the road beneath your feet, remember the coin. It is not there to control you. It is there to remind you that even in motion, you can be grounded. Even in silence, you can be guided. And even in a machine, you can remember, you are still steering something sacred. 6. Famous example. At a glance, Warren Buffett, the world-renowned investor, often called the Oracle of Omaha, may not seem like a man driven by symbolism. His empire is built on data, discipline, and dispassionate logic. He reads financial reports the way others read morning news. He avoids trend chasing and speaks plainly, even when discussing billions. But beneath that analytical persona lies something quieter, a rhythm, a structure, and most importantly, a reverence for pattern. To most people, Buffett's daily habits look ordinary. He still lives in the same modest house he bought in 1958. He eats breakfast at McDonald's. He drinks 5 cans of Coca-Cola every day. But these aren't just quirks. They are rituals, anchors, chosen repetitions that help maintain the center when life is in constant motion. And in this way, Buffett becomes an emblem not just of wealth, but of intention. There's a story not widely circulated, but confirmed by several biographers, about how Buffett once carried the same small coin in his pocket for over 2 decades. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't a rare coin, but it was consistent. He didn't rub it for luck. He didn't believe it brought magic, but he did say this: I carry it to remind myself that money is a tool, not a master. That coin sat in his front left pocket nearly every day, not because he needed it, but because it brought his awareness back to a principle. Money is neutral until we assign it meaning. Let that settle for a moment. A man whose net worth has been counted in tens of billions chose to carry a single, ordinary coin, not as superstition, but as signal, not to the world, but to himself. A reminder that even empires can be guided by modesty, that even wealth can be held with lightness. This is what we forget when we talk about energy, fortune, and symbolism. We think it must be loud. We think it must look like crystals, chants, or incense smoke. But most of the time, power whispers. In presence lives in small repetitions, in the quiet choices we make daily to stay aligned with what matters, especially when noise tempts us to scatter. This is why the idea of placing a coin beneath your driver's seat carries meaning. Not because the coin will change the traffic, but because it may change how you show up within it. Just like Buffett's pocket coin, it's not about attracting luck. It's about remembering your agency. In Feng Shui, the metal element governs structure, focus, and refinement. It is the sharpness of a blade, the edge of precision, the ring of clarity. Coins belong to metal, but so do routines. And when we blend the two, a physical coin, held within a repeated act, we begin to sharpen not the world, but the way we walk through it. Think of your car for a moment. Not the exterior, not the brand, the inside. The space where your hands meet the wheel, where your feet press down, where your breath fills the cabin during moments of tension or fatigue. That space is yours. And yet, in modern life, we often surrender it to distraction. We answer calls, we race the clock, we think of everything but where we are. The car becomes a tunnel, not a container. And this is where the practice reemerges. To place a coin beneath your seat is not a plea to the universe. It is a gesture to yourself. It is the placement of presence, right under the place where your body sits, drives, and decides. It says, even here, even now, I choose to remember. Buffett's coin was not about magic. It was about mood, about memory, about refusing to forget, in the face of complexity, the value of clarity. So how might this look in your life? Maybe you choose a coin from your birth year. Maybe you choose one gifted to you by someone who once believed in you. Maybe it's just the first coin you find that feels good in your palm. The origin doesn't matter, the repetition does. You place it beneath your seat, and each morning, before you turn the key or press the start button, you pause. Not for long, just long enough to say inwardly, let today be clear. That's it. No chant, no ceremony, just attention. Consistent, uncluttered attention. Over time, the coin becomes more than metal. It becomes a reflection, a mirror you sit above. And the more you do this, the more you begin to notice other things, the tension in your jaw as you drive, the way you grip the wheel tighter in certain parts of town, the way your thoughts start racing at the same traffic light every morning. The coin doesn't fix these things, but it helps you see them. And seeing is where shift begins. The coin may get dusty, it may slide a little. That's fine. Energy is not about perfection, it is about care. If once a month you clean the floor beneath your seat, wipe the coin and place it back, that is enough. That is anchoring. There's another story, this one not about Buffett, but about a man who visited Omaha hoping to emulate him. He asked for investing tips, for reading lists, for books. Buffett, polite but brief, said something unexpected. You already know what to do. Just don't forget it when it gets hard. The man left confused, but years later he understood. The coin, the house, the soda, all these routines were not for others. They were for him. To remember what mattered when noise tried to make him forget. This is what the coin can offer you. Not prediction, not wealth in your account by Friday, but the kind of wealth that rarely gets named, the wealth of clarity, of not rushing, of driving with presence, of remembering, even in motion, who you are and where you are going. In a time when we are flooded with apps, systems, and hacks for everything, the coin asks nothing of you. It doesn't track, it doesn't buzz, it doesn't update, it just sits. And in doing so, it reflects back what modern life so often takes: stillness. Buffett may not have known the language of Feng Shui, but he practiced its spirit. He honored flow, he respected rhythm, and most importantly, he never confused motion with progress. That's a lesson we could all hold in the palm of our hand, or just beneath our seat. Let the coin be more than metal. Let it be memory. Let it be you, quietly, deciding again and again to steer with intention. 7. Common missteps and gentle reminders. Let us pause here, not to summarize, but to soften into one final space, the space of refinement. Because no matter how sacred our intention, no matter how carefully we place our symbols, there are moments when energy slips, not out of malice, but forgetfulness. We all do it. We collect too many things, add one more item just in case, or stack symbols in the name of more is better. But in Feng Shui, as in life, more is rarely better. More often muddies, more confuses, and too many signals become no signal at all. So as we explore coins as companions to focus, let's gently consider the common missteps that arise when we are too eager, too scattered, or too enchanted by the act of placement itself. First, clutter. Many people, upon hearing about the symbolism of coins, rush to collect them. They place 5 under the mat, 7 on the windowsill, 3 by the sink, and another handful in their wallet, just to be sure. But the result is rarely harmony. What begins as a gesture of care turns quickly into noise. Coins, after all, are carriers of intention. They do not crave multiplication. They crave meaning. A single coin placed with reverence says more than 10 scattered like forgotten confetti. Imagine this. You walk into a room and every surface is filled with signs. Arrows pointing here, flashing lights, competing voices. Would you know where to go? Would you feel held? The answer, of course, is no. because too many directions equal no direction. This is what clutter does to our spaces and to our spirit. So if you've placed coins in your home, pause now. So not how many, but where, biome. Not how full, but how clear. Are these coins guiding your energy or scattering it? Are they anchors, or are they just echoes of a hope that more placement will equal more power? The second misstep is subtler, but just as important, pairing sacred tools with chaotic environments. It's tempting sometimes to use coins as cures, to place them in the messiest corner of the house and hope they fix the mood. But coins do not clean. They do not correct. They respond. And when placed in confusion, they absorb confusion. Imagine placing a pristine white cloth into a muddy stream. It doesn't cleanse the stream. It carries its sediment. In the same way, a coin in a cluttered drawer becomes heavy, not because it is bad, but because it is overwhelmed. So ask yourself, where do you place your coins? Are they buried beneath tangled cords in a junk drawer? Are they tossed atop receipts, dried pens, and expired coupons? Or are they given space to breathe, to echo, to remind? A coin does not need ceremony, but it does need respect. That doesn't mean you must build an altar. It means that the surface is clean, that the area around it is tended, that it doesn't compete for attention, but gently invites it. Even in the most practical places, under a doormat, in a wallet, beneath a driver's seat, there is still room for clarity. You don't need incense. You need intention. The third reminder is the most personal. Don't place from panic. So many of us, driven by anxiety, uncertainty, or desperation, turn to symbols in moments of need. And yes, symbols can support, but placement, like prayer, carries tone. It is not just the object, it is the state of mind in which the object was offered. When we place a coin with a frantic heart, what we anchor is not calm. What we echo is not alignment. What we embed is fear, and the home feels it. That's not superstition. That's resonance. It's the same reason we feel unsettled in a room where someone just argued, even if they're no longer there. The vibration lingers. Placement too leaves a trace. It is better to place one coin when you feel clear than 10 when you feel chaotic. So what's the remedy? Presence. Before you place, pause. Take one breath, one full breath, then ask yourself, am I placing this because I believe I'm lacking or because I wish to remember? If the answer is the latter, go ahead. If the answer is the former, wait. Placement should never be a performance. It should be a return to center, to clarity, to your own rhythm. There is one final thing, less a misstep than a misconception. Many people hear energy work or Feng Shui and assume the rules must be rigid, that if you do it wrong, something bad will happen. That's not true. The universe is not a punishment system. It is a mirror. It does not punish the misplaced coin. It simply reflects the intention behind it. So if you've placed something from confusion into the past, you don't need to fear. You don't need to redo everything. You simply need to see it and shift. That alone realigns the space, because correction is not about guilt. It is about grace. And grace is always available, quietly, waiting for you to notice. Let's circle back now, not to close, but to hold the essence. You may have one coin or none. You may have placed many or are just beginning. None of that matters as much as this. Do you believe your space is speaking to you? And if it is, are you listening? Coins are not answers. They are invitations to notice, to choose, to engage. They don't bring wealth. They remind you that you already carry it, and that when you walk with awareness, even the smallest object can echo powerfully. Not because it is special, but because you are. So now we arrive at a quiet moment. Not the end of a lesson, but the breath that follows insight. Today we didn't speak of magic. We didn't promise miracles. We explored something smaller, subtler, and perhaps more powerful. The way a single coin, when placed with intention, can shift the atmosphere of a space, and in doing so, shift something within you. A coin is not a shortcut to wealth, but it is a reminder. a gentle whisper from your environment that says, you are not powerless, you are not waiting, you are already in relationship with energy, whether you choose to shape it or not. When placed in the doorway, the coin says, this home is ready to welcome what matters. When tucked beside a money tree, it says, growth is not a hope, it's a rhythm I nourish. When kept in a wallet, clean and apart from clutter, it says, I move through this world with clarity. But more than where the coin lives is how you live with it. Do you rush through your space, or do you listen to what it's telling you? Do you throw objects at discomfort, or do you offer small, steady gestures of respect? Because at the heart of Feng Shui, not the superstition, not the Pinterest version, but the real living art is this truth: energy doesn't need to be shouted at. It needs to be honored, quietly, consistently, kindly. And so I invite you now not to buy anything, not to rearrange your entire home, but simply to notice what is one small corner in your life, physical or emotional, that is ready for a gesture of attention. Not a fix, a gesture. It could be a coin, it could be a breath, it could be finally clearing that drawer that always made you sigh. Symbols don't change destiny, but they do change your direction. They shift you from reaction to response, from drift to intention, from habit to presence. And sometimes, that shift is everything. If this reflection offered you something to think about, something subtle but meaningful, I'd be grateful if you left a comment below. Tell me, is there a coin you carry, a space you're ready to tend to? And if this video spoke to you, if you feel gently supported by the energy here, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to New Day Mindfulness. I'm slowly working toward our first 1,000 subscribers, not to grow louder, but to keep growing in depth, in presence, in the kind of wisdom that doesn't shout, but stays. Thank you for being here. May your next step, however small, be placed with awareness, and may your space in return rise quietly to meet you.